Hi guys, it's Stephanie. Welcome to my channel. Today we are celebrating a brand new video game called Sea of Thieves. Have you heard of that one yet? My family loves this game so much that I decided to make a treasure chest cake complete with a map and a compass, just like in the game. I have always wanted to make a treasure chest cake, so today I'm going to show you every single step that went into the making of this cake. Alright guys, come on, let's get started. Okay, here we go. Bake two 12-inch square cakes. Here I'm measuring where the center is and running my knife down the middle to cut it in half. Cut the cake in half again, but this time horizontally. Move the first cake layer onto a piece of foam board like I did, or make it easier on yourself and place it directly onto your cake plate. And then begin spreading a layer of buttercream frosting on top of it. Continue layering the cake and frosting. Here, I decided to cut the cake a little shorter lengthwise. I'm cutting off about 1.5 inches. Once the cake is layered up to 4 inches tall, you'll need some supports. Cut 4 straws or wooden dowels to the same height of the cake and then press them down into the cake. Cut a piece of foam board a little smaller than the cake and place it on top of the straws, and then begin layering the cake again until it is a little shorter than 8 inches. Give it a crumb coating in buttercream frosting and chill the cake for about 30 minutes. I'm really lucky and found the concept art of this treasure chest online, so I saved the picture onto my computer, I increased the size by 300%, and printed it out to make a template. I'll put a link to the concept art in the description box. Place the template against the cake and begin carving it to the treasure chest shape. Give it another crumb coating in buttercream and pop it back into the refrigerator to chill just until the buttercream hardens, about 30 minutes. After the crumb coat is cold, give it one more thicker layer of buttercream. Try to get the buttercream as smooth as you can, and then chill it one more time. If you're using foam board like I did, you'll need to trim it down to size. Moving on to the fondant. Roll the fondant out to 1/4 inch. Here I'm using chocolate fondant. Drape it over your rolling pin and place it onto the cake. Cut away the excess with an X-Acto knife. For the corners, I'm bringing the pieces of the fondant together and cutting the edges with scissors. I'm not too worried about this being perfect because I know it's getting covered. Use fondant smoothers to make it nice and smooth. Next, use a ruler to mark where you want the wood planks. I'm marking every 1¼ inch up, which I will use as a guide. Line the ruler up with the marks that you just made and press it into the cake so that it leaves behind a line. Use a modeling tool to emphasize the lines and also scratch up the fondant a little more to make it look more weathered. Use a mixture of brown and black food coloring dust to darken the plank lines. Just use a paintbrush that you use only for cake decorating and brush it into the places you want darkened. Alright, let's move on to the decorations. This is an ingredient called Tylose powder. I don't use an exact measurement for this, but for all my decorations, I knead a little bit into my fondant. I use it to give it strength and to help it dry faster. I also make edible glue with it by mixing a little into some water. Roll the fondant out to about 1/4 inch and use a strip cutter to cut thin strips. Brush some edible glue onto the cake and begin placing the strips onto the cake. Continue adding strips to match the look of the treasure chest. I always keep a picture of what I'm working on close by so I can try to get an exact match. This treasure chest has a special design on it, so I got my template back out and I cut out the different shapes of the design. Place the templates onto a piece of fondant and begin cutting them out. This template makes it so much easier. Once all the pieces are cut out, begin attaching them to the cake with edible glue. Let's move on to the handle. Roll out a log of fondant, hold it up to the template to bend it to the proper shape, and then attach it to the cake. This treasure chest has small diamond-shaped spikes on it. So to create these, roll out a piece of fondant and use a piping tip to cut out the circles. Roll each circle into a ball and form the diamond shape by pressing it with your thumbs and forefingers. Attach the diamonds to the cake. I've attached my cake to the board with candy melts. Now let's give our cake more color. To make the paints, I've mixed the silver, gold, and bronze colors with a couple of drops of clear alcohol. I use vodka most of the time, but you could also use lemon extract. If your color is a little bit streaky, let it dry completely and then give it another coat. While the paint is drying on the cake, Let's move on to the map. It's really important to mix Tylose powder into this fondant because we want the map to be really thin and we want it to dry out completely. I've also added a little egg yellow food coloring gel. Roll the fondant out very thin and use an X-Acto knife to cut away little triangles from the edges to make it look torn. Brush the map with yellow and a little brown food coloring dust to make it look more aged. Roll up the map with some paper towels tucked into it. This will help it hold its shape while it's drying, and then we'll just take those out after it dries. For the compass, color your fondant a light shade of brown, or you can use chocolate fondant mixed with a little white fondant. Find a picture of the compass online and print it out to use as a guide. Use a modeling tool to scratch up the sides and then cut a hole in the center using a circle cutter. Brush the back with edible glue and then place it on top of another piece of fondant to create the back of the compass, and then trim the edges with a knife. For the face of the compass, cut out a white circle using a cutter and begin painting the design. The paint I'm using is food coloring gel mixed with a tiny drop of vodka. Brush the inside of the compass with edible glue and drop the face down inside the compass. Let's finish up the map. Roll out a thicker piece of brown fondant. Use a strip cutter to cut a strip, wrap it around the map, and secure it with edible glue. Allow the map to dry. I'm placing 2 fondant tools on each side of it so it doesn't lose its shape. The map has one more detail that I don't want to miss. Cut out a small circle of gray fondant, use a modeling tool to scratch it up a little bit, and then etch the design into the fondant using a modeling tool. Brush it with black food color dust to make it look a little bit aged. I'm going to let this dry a little before attaching it, but this stone will need to be attached right in the middle of the map. One final detail. Let's make the edible sand. To make the sand, I'm using 8 sheets of graham crackers and 20 Nilla wafers. This doesn't have to be precise, just put them in a baggie and smash them up with a rolling pin. You can continue smashing them this way, or dump the bag into a food processor like I did. Add a half a cup of brown sugar to make it look even more sandy. Let's put it all together. Spoon the edible sand around the treasure chest. Put the map into place and display the compass. My treasure chest cake is all finished. I'm pretty proud of this one. I especially can't wait to eat it. Let me know down in the comment section what you think of the game Sea of Thieves. Do you love it as much as we do? Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please go down and hit the subscribe button. Now I need to figure out what I'm going to make next. I have no idea. Okay, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.